Hi guys, this is the final image that I've done, and this is the reference that I used for it. And yeah, let's start. I usually start my paintings with values, not line work, and it's a bit of an uncommon way to start, but I've really grown to like it. For this specific painting, I'm starting with just two values, which is going to be a light gray and a dark gray. And normally I might use up to five, but starting with fewer keeps things simpler. I also wanted to show that even with just two values, you can figure out like a fairly complex piece and break it down to pieces. So I used to struggle a lot with this part, and I would rush through it overthinking. But over time, I learned how powerful the stage really is, because grayscale slash value stage really lets you focus on the concept itself and the composition of the piece. And here I'm thinking about the light direction where the shadows will fall. And when I'm working with values, I'm not thinking about color yet. I'm just trying to build the atmosphere first before color starts to distract me. Now, speaking of color, here I'm trying to very quickly and in really abstract way use some brushes to capture the mood and the reference of the image. And I'm really just playing around with colors and seeing what they can do for me, because I really want to create or recreate the feeling that first drew me to this image. My goal is to transfer the same mood and emotion into my own piece. And I don't know about you, but I often catch myself unsure of what to paint or draw. And we call it an art block or whatever you want to call it, but I think as an artist, we all struggle with it. And I think you'll agree with me, but what really helps me is going on Pinterest. I have folders and folders filled with landscapes, environments, and characters from different cultures and like all the basically fun stuff. And whenever I feel stuck or unsure of what I want to paint, but I feel like I need to, I go through those albums and I always find something striking that speaks to me. And sometimes I can spend maybe an hour just to go through all the stuff that I've accumulated and choose a couple of images. And something that makes me want to grab a picture and study. I usually want to focus on atmosphere, color, or composition. And whenever I find an image that checks all the boxes, I get this feeling that I'm always eager to welcome. It's like I can't wait to paint it. And for this specific image, I kept the environment very close to the original, but I wanted to change the faces of the characters, make them a little bit more expressive and a little bit more animated. And I like doing that because it helps me study real light and color while also practicing my own creativity and putting my own designs into these beautiful environments or references that inspire me. I've always been more of an environment artist. I always love locations, landscapes, the atmosphere of a place. And honestly, I think part of that came from the fact that I was never that great with character design. I've always struggled with anatomy, shapes, and expressions, and still do. And maybe part of me just wanted to avoid that, to focus on what I was really good at. And as cheesy as it sounds, recently I've realized it's important to face the things you're not great at and to see what you actually do with them. For example, truly for me, making this first YouTube video and sharing my thoughts and my process with you guys, it's something that I'm not very comfortable with, and I just want to get better at it because it's something that I have been thinking about for a while. And even if it just sits here, I'm already proud of myself that I'm doing this. And if you ever find yourself wanting to try something new, but something keeps holding you back, I encourage you to look a little deeper and figure out what that is. For me, most of the time, it's just the fear of starting something new, the fear of being bad at it. And it's definitely normal and okay. For the longest time, I always started my piece with clean line work before adding color. That was just my way, the way I learned to paint and draw things. But when I began taking classes with different artists and professors, I realized everyone had their own completely different approach, and at first that really bothered me. I thought I needed to pick one method and master it. In my head, art meant starting with lines, the colors, the effects. But when I started learning from more traditional painters, especially through online classes like Schoolism, I began to understand something deeper. It's not about how complex your piece is, or how many colors and effects you use. It's really about the fundamentals, the solid base that everything else stands on. Your artwork is like a house, If the foundation isn't strong, it doesn't matter how much detail or polish you add. It still feels off, unbalanced, or incomplete. And it took me a while to understand all this because I really had to go back to the fundamentals, to the very basics. For me, that meant working with values. I did tons of film and photo studies using just 2, 3, or 4 values. At first, it felt simple and even meaningless, but over time I started to notice how much these studies improved the artwork I was creating. I've learned to stop rushing into line work and all the details right away. Whenever I used to start line work, I'd find myself going too far. It felt like the whole piece was already finished before I even began painting. But when I start with values instead, it simplifies everything. It lets me focus on the basics without feeling overwhelmed. I can block out shapes like light and shadow, the true fundamentals before worrying about anything else. And once the foundation is done, you realize it's not really about the color itself, but about temperature, how warm or cool something feels in context. Every hue is relative to its surroundings. A muted blue can feel warm next to a saturated blue, just like a grayish red can feel cool beside a strong red. When you start adding colors, think about the mood of your piece, because without that it's easy to get lost. You have to be intentional, because in nature things aren't nearly as saturated as we imagine. The reds aren't super red, and the blues aren't always vibrant blue. At this point of the image that I'm working on, I'm focusing on the small details, fitting everything together like a big complex puzzle, from one corner to another. I've learned to really enjoy this stage because this is where the piece comes to life. The atmosphere and depth are already established, now it's just about adding to them. At this point, I'm not thinking about color anymore. I'm thinking about temperature. I'm going for a warm environment, but I still mix in cool tones, some grays, muted greens, a touch of blue, to keep everything balanced and cohesive. And if you look closely, I'm not actually using greens or blues at all. Those cooler colors are just muted oranges that appear blue or green because of the warmer tones surrounding them. It's the magic of temperature in painting. Every artist who truly understands that creates work that feels alive and believable. And I really enjoy adding these desaturated patches of color to make this illusion come to life. Another thing is when I'm painting, I really try to stay focused, especially in the early stages. I know we all like to listen to podcasts and stories or even have a video playing in the background while we're working, but I honestly think it's really important, at least in the beginning, to give all your attention to what you're creating, because your composition and values, as I mentioned previously, are the foundation of your entire piece. And if you mess those early on, it's going to be really hard to fix things later. As Richard Schmid, one of the greatest modern painters in my opinion, said, he tries to put his very first brush strokes down as correctly as possible. That way he knows what to build from as the painting develops. Because if your first few strokes or lines are off, it becomes difficult to compare them to anything solid or accurate later on. And so you really want your base to feel right, something you're happy with and confident to build upon. If you start off uncertain and try to fix things along the way, most of the time it just doesn't work, and you don't end up learning as much either. But when you give your full attention in the start and beginning of your painting and really think about why you're placing each brush stroke, you begin to analyze your work on a deeper level, and that mindset, that focus will help you grow faster as an artist. And now to take another side, I know this might sound like a bit of a controversial opinion, especially when short studies are so popular, and I do them myself too. You know, those quick 5 to 10 minute studies from film scenes or photos you like, they're amazing for learning composition, so it's a bit different. And when you do those, you don't really have time to think about every single brush stroke or line you put down. You're under a time limit, so your main focus becomes capturing the overall composition and values of the image. So I don't want to mix those things together and make you confused. There is time and place for both. Short studies teach you to paint with confidence, to put down brush strokes quickly without overthinking the details, and to focus on the bigger picture. But when you're working on your own concept piece from scratch, without any time restraints, that's when it's important to slow down in the beginning and think through each step carefully, like I mentioned earlier. And ironically, that's what actually helps you paint faster later on, because artists who seem to paint fast aren't necessarily moving their hands quickly, they're just smarter with their brush strokes. Every mark has purpose. That's the real secret behind painting efficiently. Now, going back to my artwork here, I feel like I'm getting close to the final stage. I'm just adding small details, thinking things like books in the backgrounds, bits of clutter in the room, but I'm trying to make everything feel connected, like it all belongs together. I'm doing that through light and shadow. I'm allowing myself to add more details in the shadow areas while keeping the lit parts more simple and clean. It helps me balance the painting, so even when there is a lot going on, it doesn't feel overwhelming. And in the beginning, when you're trying to learn that, it's very tricky to do. But with more complex reference that you're using to make your artwork, you'll find yourself trying to combine parts of the image together to make it a little bit simpler for your brain and for your overall image in your head to deal with what you're working on. And I might have gone a bit all over the place here, but if you enjoyed it, I'd love to make more videos like this, maybe focusing on one topic at a time. And thank you so much for staying with me till the end, and I hope you have a nice and peaceful painting session yourself. Till next time, bye bye.